but he said, your brain just works differently than ours does. And all of a sudden that was the key. I was like, you're right. My brain does, and other women's brains do. And how do we empower them to realize how powerful that femininity, that sensitivity, that creativity is to production agriculture, and get women back at the business table being all the things that they innately are?
Hey y'all, and welcome. You're listening to the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I'm your host, Dakota Dawn Johnson, small town cowgirl with southern roots, blazing a trail as a Midwest ranch wife, mama, and businesswoman. The mission of Cowgirl Confessions is to share the wonderfully wild and western life stories of cowgirls from all walks of life. We'll talk about the highs, the lows, and everything in between when it comes to navigating careers, cowboys, kids, and cattle. Legendary cowgirl Dale Evans said it best: cowgirl is a pioneer spirit, a special brand of American courage. The cowgirl faces life head on, lives by her own lights, and makes no excuses. Cowgirls take stands. They speak up. They defend the things they hold dear. A cowgirl might be a rancher, a barrel racer, a bull rider, or an actress, but she's just as likely to be a checker at the local Winn-Dixie, a full-time mother, a banker, an attorney, or an astronaut. If you're into wet saddle blankets, talks with God, buckets full of laughter, and the life lessons learned in the process, kick off your boots and settle in. I pray these stories encourage, empower, and give you just the leg up you need. Here's to embracing the cowgirl state of mind, no matter how wild and western life may get along the way.
Welcome to another edition of the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I am thrilled to finally have this special guest on with us today. We have Karoline Rose, the founder and CEO of KRose Company and Cattleman U. You guys, she's also a fellow podcaster and has such a unique story and background when it comes to being a woman in agriculture and business. So, Karoline, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let's bring the listeners up to speed. If they are not familiar with who you are, just a quick rundown of where you're located and really how KRose Company came to be.
Absolutely. So I'll try to give you kind of the high points, but I am located in Kalispell, Montana. I recently got married on New Year's Eve.
Congrats.
And so, thank you. My husband and I live up here next to Glacier National Park. So it's a blessing to live in a country like this. But I started KRose Company. It's been through a couple of name changes. It was KRose Cattle and then KRose Marketing. And then we settled on KRose Company in 2015. So I graduated from Montana State University, decided I didn't want to work for anyone else, and kind of went out on my own path. And it has ebbed and flowed and really come together to be an ag marketing agency that we also buy and sell cattle. So we're licensed order buyers. And our primary business is seed stock management, websites, bull sales, kind of all of that. And then we do ag supported businesses. So we work with the vet clinic down the road, or we work with a farm to table operation, in just supporting them in marketing done by people in agriculture.
I love that and believe it's truly so powerful for you to just, I've listened to many of your podcasts and more about your story. And you guys, I'll be sure to put a link in the podcast notes where you can go and listen to more Karoline's story and her background, because it truly is fascinating. But I think what you said is so powerful when, getting marketing advice from someone that's not only in the industry, the agriculture industry and the cattle industry, what you're doing, but somebody who's putting those marketing tactics into place, because that's always changing. It's always evolving. And so you're not just throwing a dart at a board and praying it hits. Like you know what you're doing, and you can ensure your customers with that too from so many angles.
That was something that was really important to me in marketing. Is I felt like, one, I needed to be able to market my own company, and I needed to try and practice things on our own company before I could really teach or do it for clients. And so I have always been a big believer that I have to be doing all the tweaking and testing on the KRose pages so that I can run customer pages successfully. But we do tons of education. Even today, I mean, I'm listening to podcasts and always making sure that I am on the front line of what's happening in the marketing world. And I will tell you, in agriculture, we still have this kind of old school mentality, which is really beautiful in its own way. And it's amazing to me the growth my customers see kind of the first time they take on new technology in marketing, the first time we try an email list or something to that nature, and they are blown away. It's like I've converted these men who maybe have a flip phone to full believers in Facebook.
That is no small feat. So at a girl, I mean that, and I feel like that really puts into context what you're doing and what you're bringing to the table, because I feel like sometimes um, maybe people that are marketing in other realms that aren't as familiar with agriculture, they would not know how to bridge that gap like you just explained. They'd be like, what? Somebody still is using a flip phone? And you get that, like, that's just, there's a lot of people still doing that, but you meeting them right where they're at. So you mentioned podcasting, and I want you to tell us more about Cattleman U, how that came to be, because it is serving as such an incredible resource, education, empowerment. It's just all the things.
Well, Cattleman U was certainly a passion project of mine. And I tell people, now it's 3 years old. And so it's a little different, but it was developed during the pandemic. And I kept thinking there has to be a way that when the world is shut down, that education can get to the people in production agriculture. And I think there is a disconnect in agriculture between there's kind of two segments of people, right? So we have people who are like my brother, production agriculture. They are out there 7 days a week, very hands-on. And then we kind of have another segment in agriculture that are just as important, but they have a little bit more flexibility, right? Mm-hmm. We have feed salesmen, even like new vets. I mean, it's just different, right? And so I kept going to these conferences and I was like, my brother, who is making the management decisions on our operation, cannot take 3 or 4 days away from his family to come here and cannot get this education. And no one's really tailoring to the people who seem to be kind of in the thick of it. And I was like, okay, that's the first problem. And then the second problem was my dad started to go to conferences. And I said, we can't wait until my brother can go to conferences when his son is 30 for changes to happen. And so all of those during the pandemic, I really just said, I'm going to create kind of like a conference at home called Cattleman U, and it's going to be a membership to serve people in production agriculture. And it has really morphed kind of out of that into this resource primarily for women. And it started where I was quizzing my dad and my brother, and I said, what do I bring to the table that is different than what you guys bring? And I remember my brother said some things that were really towards my me being a woman, which is interesting because growing up, there was never talks about women do this, men do that, like none of that. And he just said, you just think differently than we do. And at first, you're kind of offended. You're like, what do you mean I think differently? And he's like, no, it's the best thing. But he said, your brain just works differently than ours does. And all of a sudden that was the key. I was like, you're right. My brain does, and other women's brains do. And how do we empower them to realize how powerful that femininity, that sensitivity, that creativity is to production agriculture, and get women back at the business table, being all the things that they innately are, and talk, and thinking just the way they think, and not trying to change who they are to fit kind of the rough side of production agriculture. Like, let's just empower women and show them that I honestly think in order to ensure the next generation of farmers and ranchers, we have to have creativity. We have to have some sensitivity. We have to have femininity injected back into production agriculture.
Every once in a while when I meet somebody new, they'll say, Dakota, where are you from? And I love having the opportunity to say, I grew up in a small town in rural Alabama. Now, whether you have small town roots or dream of one day trading in the city life for a little slower pace, or maybe you just enjoy an occasional weekend getaway where you can actually see the stars at night. Whatever your version of living the small town life looks like, my friends at thesmalltownlife.com, they have you covered with comfortable and unique ball caps and graphic tees that the entire family will love. Be sure to go follow them on Instagram and Facebook and use the hashtag #TheSmallTownLife when you're out there doing the small town living.
You've talked about just how some things have evolved with KRose Company and then Cattleman U, how that's morphed. So, for our guests listening today, can you give us an outline of, how to really set and reach goals for their life and their operation? Because it sounds like at the core of all the businesses you're a part of, Karoline, that that is one of your secret sauces. Like you have that figured out.
Yeah, and I'm honored that you say that because I would say that the people close to me in business would say I'm flying blind most of the time.
Don't we all feel that way? We're just doing the best we can to, try to figure it all out, but you're showing up. That's it.
Absolutely. I tell my employees all the time, and now that I'm 30, it feels like, wow, I'm a little older and, a lot of my employees are in their 20s, but I'm like, well, I've never been a 30-year-old CEO before. So if this isn't how you want it to work or you expect it to work or you think it should work, you need to tell me because I'm as new being a CEO as you are as having a CEO that's 30. So let's have a conversation. But I am huge on setting goals. So one thing that we've done in KRose that has just changed the game is we've adopted the entrepreneurial operating system, and it's called EOS. And there's a book, Traction, which just has really been a game changer. And the thing that it helped me in setting and accomplishing big goals is at the beginning of every quarter, I'm a very visual learner. So I think of the foundation of a house that's on concrete, right?
Mhm.
And we go around and we break up that concrete and we pass it out to every KRose team member. And we say, you are accountable for carrying this piece of concrete to the next location to build the next foundation of the business. And we tell them sometimes it's going to be really easy for you to carry. Other times you can't carry it alone. You need to cheer on other people as they carry theirs, all of these things. And I have always expected my team members to set goals, and we set them as departments and individuals, and then really lay out the action steps to accomplishing those goals and then what kind of support they need. So every single team member has individual goals. We have department goals, we have company goals, and then I have personal goals as well. And the two big things that I do is on my phone, the home screen of my phone is my goals for that quarter. They're very visible. They are out there. And then I have a list on my phone that's called 5-minute tasks. And those are tasks that I know move the needle towards my goals. And if I have 5 minutes that I think about scrolling on TikTok, or I am, looking at Facebook, wasting time, I have this pre-made list of things that I can do in order to help move the needle that doesn't take a lot of time. Because I think as people who are hungry, time is something we're lacking. We always want more time. And so it's really important that I have little things that I can do that move the needle that don't take a whole day.
Oh, that's
So I
so,
write it
so
down.
good. Yes, I love that. Those 5-minute tasks. I'm gonna borrow that from you. That is awesome. You've got the 5-minute tasks, some actionable steps for you, as well as really, if you will, having that roadmap for you and your team members. What comes after that as far as if we have somebody listening that's a lot like myself, we have all these different ideas when we're creatives. So what do you suggest when you're in that brainstorming phase, but then taking it from that phase to the action step?
Yeah, the hardest part to me is when I have a ton of ideas and I'm an ideas person. My team will often tell me, write that down and we'll save that for later. We can't, we have too much on our plate. And so you really have to assess what the highest priority are. And to me, the highest priority items always need action steps. And a lot of times, if I set a goal of X, Y, and Z, I will tell myself, okay, every single day you have to do this. Every week you have to do this. So I really try to break it down very specifically in order to know what moves the needle. And they say you can really only chase after 3 or 4 things in a quarter successfully. And so I always prioritize. Like, if I could only get one thing done in this quarter, what is the highest thing? And for me, a lot of times that's an income goal or some type of sales goal, because I still do all the sales for KRose Company. And so I know in order to feed the mouths of all of our team members, I need to still be hungry and to make sales and get new customers and serve them really, really well. And so that is often my main priority that I am tracking. But a lot of times I see people set 20, 30 goals or New Year's resolutions or whatever. You just can't focus on all those. You got to focus on a couple and do them really well. And then realize the next quarter you can change your focus.
That is so, so true. And so what is on the horizon for Cattleman U? Talk to us a little bit about some of the different things that you offer outside of the podcast with Cattleman U.
So Cattleman U has several different offerings. So we have a planner called the Cattleman U Planner, which is for women in production agriculture. And it's not like a standard planner. We have where you can assess kind of the employees, the team members, the roles. You can set goals. It has dinner prompt conversation questions. So you no longer just have to say, how was your day? And we have all of those. So we have the Cattleman U Planner. And then we have the Cattleman U membership, and the membership opens again in June, which we are really excited about. And I have had this desire to really be together with the Cattleman U members. So this summer we're holding what's called She's a Hand Ranch Camp, which is a hands-on ranching experience in Montana. And we have 15 women each camp coming, and we're going to be running the squeeze chute. We're going to be loading cattle. We're going to be sorting cattle. We're going to be doctoring, vaccinating, all of that. And so we are really excited. The July one has just a couple spots left in the May one. And then in June, we will be announcing, when we open the membership, some more opportunities to just be together in community. We are going to really focus on kind of a business retreat in some capacity where people get together and we can really kind of solve a bunch of things all at once, when we can build our businesses, become better at setting goals and accomplishing them, but also we can build a community for rural women.
Oh, it's so exciting to hear what all, all the different things you have to offer currently with Cattleman U and what's on the horizon. That She's a Hand Ranch Camp sounds just like such an incredible opportunity, because I mean, as a cattleman's wife myself, I mean, I grew up as a cowgirl and around horses, but I didn't grow up on a cattle operation. And so I've heard you share before, like, sometimes when you're in the heat of the moment, it's not the best time to try to learn how to run the squeeze chute. And I so
Absolutely.
felt that, like, to my core, because I'm like, that's not a time when you need to mess up. But to have the opportunity to practice that in an environment where you can really be focused on you getting better at that skill, not necessarily juggling the kids and did you get the meal there and helping your husband, like, you can really be all in and hone in on those skills. I think it's really great that you're creating that opportunity at a camp level for women.
We're so excited. And that's the exact reason, right? When I mentioned it first to my brother and said, I want to rent the ranch, he said, well, what if an animal gets hurt? And then he paused and he said, oh, that's exactly why we have to do this. If no one else is teaching these women how to do it and how to do it the right way and giving them time to practice, everyone's dad or brother saying that we don't have time, it's too risky, all of these things. And he's like, we need to be the place that allows women the judgment-free zone to try and test things.
Can't wait to just see how all of that unfolds. And I'm sure it's just going to be a real blessing to everyone that attends. Karoline, I have so enjoyed our time together today. And I would love to know, what does the cowgirl state of mind mean to you?
Yeah, so I have to tell you an interesting thing about the word cowgirl. So growing up, I never would have considered myself a cowgirl. And it just wasn't part of even our conversation. My brother is very handy, does a lot of hands-on ranch things, and he definitely views himself as a cowboy, but I just never took that name of cowgirl. And I was talking to my husband and I said, am I a cowgirl? And he said, well, of course you are. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, your whole income is derived by agriculture and we own cattle and everything like that. And I said, oh, you're right. And so the thing that I really think is grit and just kind of putting your head down and deciding to do it and always doing the right thing whenever possible. And that's kind of what comes to mind.
Oh, yeah, you absolutely are a cowgirl, and I love that your husband spoke that, into you and over you and reminded you of how much of a cowgirl you are. Karoline, can you share with everyone how they can follow along to keep connected and learn more about KRose Company and Cattleman U?
Absolutely. So KRose Company, we have Facebook, Instagram, and of course a website, and then a TikTok that I use pretty regularly. Same with Cattleman U. Of course, we have the weekly podcast, and then we have Instagram, Facebook, and the website.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for your time today. I wish you the best and look forward to hopefully getting to connect in person at some point.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for spending your time with me on the Cowgirl Confessions podcast. I'm so glad y'all stopped by. If you could take a moment to share this episode and tag us on social media, I'd be happier than a cowgirl in a sea of buy one, get one vintage turquoise. Subscribe to make sure you don't miss an episode. New episodes will be released bi-monthly. Please leave us a review if you feel so led by going to iTunes. Your feedback will really help us breed the idea of grabbing life by the horns with a cowgirl state of mind into women across the globe. Some that may have never even had the privilege to throw their leg over a horse, but could most certainly use the cowgirl state of mind while navigating life. Thanks again, y'all. Until next time, keep pursuing your dreams with that all go and no woe mentality. Remember, you're writing a story that's worth saddling up for, sister.